Shodona has spoken passionately about Haiti. There's been one of the leaders here in London in the Haiti Support Group, um, traveled in Latin America as well and doing her work wherever she is. And we're delighted to have Shodona as an executive member of Caribbean Labor Solidarity. And so without much ado, Shodona, please, will you update us on what's happening in Haiti? So yeah, please take the floor.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you're joining us from. Thanks again to CLS for the invitation to share with you, and thank you to Ozzy, Paul, and Stephen, and Luke for the presentations that you just gave us. So I'm going to talk for about 15 minutes or so about Haiti, talking to, the context as to how we got here, how Haiti has got where it is, and, with some updates given the excessive violence that has taken place, particularly in the last few weeks. So the ongoing unrest and challenges in Haiti reflect the deepening crisis for democracy and human rights. As we know, since 2003, when claims for restitution by Jean-Bertrand Aristide for the odious debt for independence that he made, Haiti's democratic institutions have faced systemic dismantling, which have culminated in an acute crisis that the country faces today. Despite the efforts of civil society to uphold Haiti's self-determination, successive governments, particularly the Parti Haïtien Tête Calée, or PHTK, which translates from Haitian Creole to English as the bold-headed Haitian Party or Skinhead Party. They've been criticized for serving the interests, as we know, of the political international community, rather than addressing the needs of the actual Haitian people in situ. And this has led to widespread protests domestically and internationally among the Haitian diaspora and those of us who stand in solidarity with Haiti as Haitians demand accountability and change. In response to this escalating crisis, Ariel Henry, the recently resigned de facto prime minister, sought assistance from international bodies such as the UN and regional bodies such as CARICOM, with, as we've just mentioned, we can talk a bit more about this later, the Jamaican government expressing support for intervention. Now, since 2004, the United Nations involvement in Haiti, particularly through peacekeeping missions like MINUSTA, has been controversial. Despite significant financial investment, MINUSTA was given $9 billion over 13 years. Such efforts have been deemed ineffective and even detrimental, with corruption and mismanagement at the fore. The humanitarian situation in Haiti, as we know, unfortunately is dire. Thousands have been killed. According to a recent UN report, as of mid-March, 1,500 people have been assassinated, with hundreds of thousands being displaced, about 365,000, if we include the 300,000 people who were displaced from the 2010 earthquake. We're talking 14 years ago, of people still not having stable shelter. And since then, about 65,000 people, since the ongoing crises that have been happening over the years, also being internally displaced. Also, essential services such as schools and hospitals have been shut. The gang violence, as we know, is often linked to both political and business sectors, further exacerbating the instability. Gangs are now controlling a significant portion of the capital, Port-au-Prince, about 80%. The two main groups are the G9, led by Jimmy Cherizier, also known as Barbecue, and the J-Pep gang, led by Gabriel Jean-Pierre, also known as T. Gabriel. These gangs are increasing in size and weaponry, and together they form what they call the Vivre Ensemble Alliance, or the Live Together Alliance in English. These gangs are present throughout the whole capital and control about 75% of the goods that are flowing or able to flow throughout the country. The extortion tactics that they use are mainly pitted against those who need to trade, whether that's in people or goods. So those who work in transport, having to transport people throughout the country, those who work in markets. We're thinking agricultural workers, particularly women who trade in the market space. People are having to pay gang members to be able to carry out any form of livelihood. So these gangs will request weekly payments, for example, so that people can conduct their livelihoods if they're able to, so people can move things from ports, because the gangs are also controlling the ports. As we know, in response to this crisis, the UN Resolution 2699 was passed in October of 2023. Before that, Ariel Henry had been, from 2022, traveling to UN meetings requesting support to bulk up the police capacity in Haiti, which is very weak. So with this resolution, this has now authorized the deployment of the Kenyan police troops to restore order. And the decision to deploy these Kenyan troops stems from the fact that no country has wanted to lead such an intervention, leaving the door wide open for Kenya to fill this gap. Partially and probably predominantly motivated by the financial incentives that it proposes, the United States has pledged a significant financial support for this intervention of 300 million US. Questions evidently remain about the feasibility and effectiveness of such an intervention, with those of us arguing that the mission is ill-conceived and very unlikely to succeed, with a strong potential to worsen the situation rather than alleviate it. So the criticism regarding Kenya taking a lead is the fact that it's an African country. Haiti is 95% African descendants. So we're seeing an African country taking the lead on a sister country, so to speak, in this sort of intervention. So people are accusing the Kenyan government of seeking this financial profit. And as we've also seen in the news, that the courts in Kenya have, want to put a halt to this intervention because it raises constitutional concerns. And there are widespread calls for military force rather than a police service to address the crises, because of the different powers that between a military force and a police force. And we know that comes with its concerns as well. And thus this is very much looking like an intervention that is tantamount to occupation. So in recent weeks, we've seen that there have been efforts to establish a presidential transitional council in Haiti, with an agreement being finalized just on Friday. And the hope is that this council will progress towards some sort of a political solution. That's to say, a transition to a semblance of democracy in the rule of law. And the idea is to elect an interim prime minister, an interim council of ministers, and so that the country can move forward with presidential elections. The regional mediators, of course, have been CARICOM, who are leading on these negotiations as to who should be involved in this transitional council, with support from the US. And in a press release that CARICOM released on Friday, in part they say, the political agreement expresses a common vision of the transition constructed by the sectors and represents a responsible commitment to the Haitian people. It indicates the broad outlines of the roadmap for the transition period that the Presidential Council will be responsible for executing, jointly with the next consensus government, with the aim of putting the country back on the path of stability, peace, union, and progress. Now, during these negotiation efforts, there have been internal disputes and faction infighting due to the challenges in determining the composition of this council, as well as the powers that this council is actually going to have. And there have been members who were selected who have withdrawn and thus been replaced. And additionally, Jimmy Cherizier, the gang leader of G9, wanted to be part of this council so that gang members can actually have a say as to the political steps that the next political steps that Haiti is going to take. And if they were not considered, then more violence would ensue. There are currently 9 members who represent the political, financial, civil society, and religious sectors. One of them is female. And it's important to note that CARICOM took the lead on these selected members. So, as we know, the interventions from international actors have had a mixed legacy with very limited success in addressing the root causes of Haiti's problems. Meanwhile, long-standing issues such as cholera and COVID-19 continue to plague the country, overwhelming an already fragile healthcare system. If we look at hunger, hunger is acute, and about 50% of Haitians are suffering from acute hunger at the moment. Women and girls, because of their age and gender, are facing some of the worst brutalities of the crises that are happening at the moment. And our partners have wanted to highlight that despite these challenges, women and particularly women are continuing to strengthen their resolve and solidarity to do everything in their power to survive and protect their families. Doctors, for instance, despite facing a brain drain and very limited resources, lack of medication, lack of tools, blood to carry out blood transfusions, for example, for those who have been caught up in the crossfire, they continue to serve their communities, distributing aid and providing medical assistance where they can. The police officers who are, as I mentioned before, the police force is very weak. Haiti has the largest population in the Caribbean of 11 million. I think just slightly larger than Cuba. We have around 10 million. The police force have about 10,000 police officers throughout the country. Probably a lot less. They're often underpaid. They're unarmed because the gangs are increasing in their own weaponry. They're striving to fulfill their duties amid the chaos and oftentimes are actually joining the gangs. There's a growing recognition of the need to empower the grassroots organization and civil society to play a role in finding these lasting solutions that prioritize the needs and aspirations of the Haitian people. Now, I think the last time that I spoke with CLS, we spoke about the Montana Accord that was agreed in August of 2021, I believe. And this again was and is a an entity of different representatives from different sectors. So the private sector, the religious sector, the civil society sector that came up with the Montana Accord. I'm just going to share a website with you so you can see in the chat where you can read the accord, because it's now in English. I believe at the time when we were speaking there hadn't been an English version. But it's more of a manifesto, an agreement that reads like a declaration as to what Haitians are demanding for a Haitian future, whereby different sectors of Haitian society are represented and are able to voice their views and opinions and will of what they want Haiti to look like. And we're hearing oftentimes now, we're seeing in the media that language is shifting slightly when talking about Haiti, that, this should be a Haitian-led solution. Also, government representatives are using this language, Haitian-led solution. They're piggybacking off the language that Haitians themselves are using. And yes, while we are using this language, what does that actually mean when we have regional blocs like CARICOM taking the lead on what Haiti should look like? Because there wasn't a Haitian representative at the time where they had the first meeting to negotiate what this transitional council would look like. So, who really does have the voice where Haitian people are concerned? Because this Montana Accord, this Montana entity have been having these discussions and have in this proposal, as you can see, wanted to have a transitional council that can lead to some tangible changes in the country. So, those questions are still being asked throughout the country. But what is clear is that, when you talk to Haitian people, they are adamant that something needs to be done. It should not come in the same wave as previous interventions. And since Ariel Henry's resignation, the discussions about the Kenyan troops going in have been delayed now, because there is no governing voice in Haiti. We will see what comes out of this transitional council and wait to see what agreements are being finalized and what powers that transitional council has to declare. But the question will still remain, how is the violence that's going on right now regarding the gangs going to, how is that going to play out? Because as the gang leader, Cherizier, said, there would be more violence if they were not taken into consideration in these negotiation processes, which they haven't been. So it's a kind of wait and see situation that those of us who stand in solidarity with Haiti are having to abide by, like Haitians themselves. So that's where I'm going to stop with my presentation. I look forward to any questions that you might have, and I will answer them to the best of my ability.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Shodona. I'm sure people will join me in applauding you and applauding that presentation. A couple of questions, clearly Haiti is in a tough place here, and I often think was the way forward. And of course, we'll be directed by you and by Haitians in what action we can take. We've already taken action over the last month, some of which you know of, picketing the Canadian embassy, picketing Kenyan embassy, and we're prepared to do more to support Haiti. And we'll be guided by you know you who know a bit more about Haiti, and you've got your contacts in Haiti, so we will try to think about how best we can support you, um, to the Haitian people. Now, I wondered whether the question I would ask is how much of a politics is barbecue having, if any at all? Because if he's arguing for a seat at the table to discuss the future of Haiti, it means he must have some kind of political inclination about how we want things to happen. And um, and certainly him living there is better positioned than some of those in the CARICOM unit who are making decisions on Haiti without even including Haitians in the discussion. Um, and so, yeah, for me, the question is there any political movement? Is there any politics in in these gangs? Because they seem to be organizing. It says something more than just gangs. And we know one of the ways in which the West will try and discredit a country is to say it's out of control, failed state. We got to send in troops. So gangs are running rampant. Is there any politics to them?
Thanks, Luke. I think that's a very important question because, I think it's the perennial question as to what exactly do these gangs want? And given that barbecue is not shy, he willingly gives interviews, um, claiming to want a seat at this political table for Haiti's future. But what I understand is that, and what we see is that the gangs are they're exercising terror on the community. They manage and control the functioning of the goods and the flowing of goods in the country. And he has claimed that he has a revolutionary stance for Haiti, right? So, a lot of the action that they've taken was so that Ariel Henry resigned, which he did. So now he wants to be included in this transitional council. But, should they have a seat, what I understand is that he wants, if there is some sort of agreement, they would want amnesty for all this terror that they have inflicted on Haitian people. But there doesn't really seem to be an end goal, like a fully fledged political ideology that has been enunciated. Just that they want to be included in these spaces, in these decision-making spaces. But if we look at the gangs, they are, Cherizier himself is an ex-police officer, right? And members of these gangs are young men. Haiti's population is very young. There aren't jobs at the moment. The hospitals have been closed. The schools have been closed. So I think it will be interesting to see what, the question that you're asking, what exactly does barbecue think he can bring to the table? There was a video of, it just in following this line of thought of this revolutionary figure that he is proposing himself to be, of him walking with a reporter and happening upon a homeless man who has no form of access to basic services, which unfortunately a lot of the Haitian population has to deal with. And these are the areas that he says he wants to fix, but we're not seeing that kind of a manifesto coming from him. So at this moment in time, it's more about having amnesty for himself and the fellow gang members who are perpetrating these crimes at the moment. That's what it looks like.
Well, great. Thanks for that. Um, Please put your questions to Shodona. I saw Steve's hand up somewhere just now. Steve Cushion.
Yes, I'm wondering about this proposed force of intervention. I mean, they've been talking about the Kenyan soldiers or police. I'm not quite sure what the difference is in Kenya, given the poor reputation they have. I know there's very great internal opposition in Kenya to do it, ranging from statements by the Kenyan Communist Party through to the retired Chief Justice. I'm hearing stories about troops training in Jamaica from the rest of CARICOM to join this kind of mission. And I'm just sort of wondering, is there any real plan behind this, or is it just the Kenyan government, as you suggest, taking the money while it can? And but will it end up with troops from CARICOM countries going in and on what, as I say, the retired Chief Justice of Kenya called a suicide mission?
Again, another important question. Thanks, Steve. I think that, so we have this resolution in place. And when it comes to these UN resolutions, so bearing in mind, this is not going to be a peacekeeping mission. It is not the UN, it's a particular country that has volunteered to send in a police force. And as you mentioned, Steve, we've seen the capacities of Kenyan troops going into other countries, and where that has led to. And you also mentioned Jamaica, some training happening there. And there's been pushback from Jamaicans, understandably, on Jamaica needing to look internally first and fix its own problems before intervening in neighboring countries. So when peace agreements are agreed, usually, there's a period of preparation. So this was agreed 6 months ago, and still nothing had happened because of the lack of Haiti to be able to receive this particular mission, as well as wanting more reinforcements, hence Henri traveling throughout the country, but also not being able to land. So that put everything to a halt. And usually when there are these agreements, in this case, those who are opposing interventions, who have powers, who are unhappy, will ramp up the level of violence, which is what we saw happening, because they're trying to assert their power as forcefully as they can before there is any sort of intervention that will quell the violence once they're there. I saw a press release the other day of, I want to say it was the Trinidadian representative of CARICOM or the OAS. Sorry, I'm not too clear on that detail, but they said they would not be sending in any support to this particular mission. And Jamaica has been very vocal about showing their support under the Andrew Holness administration. And what was it Paul was saying before about Jamaica welcoming the Israeli ambassador to Jamaica? It's politics, and it's a thing of what can you get out of this and what capacity, because Kenya's not going in there to inform Haitians as to how to run the country, if not to help stabilize and support the very weak police apparatus that they have. So, Kenya's not there to help diplomatically. This is not a UN peacekeeping mission. So really the onus is on ideally for this transitional council to install some sort of transitional change. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say on that, because I don't think people are very confident in the capacity of this transitional council, but it's clear that there needs to be something in place.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that answer. I think we've got Dr. Ola's hand up in a moment. Not right now. I just wanted to make some comments before, because I think, we got to remember, the police in Haiti, I guess, don't cover themselves in glory either. They've been very repressive to the masses of people, and you can imagine that, why the gangs would organize against them and maybe get some support for the way they've been. And certainly, intervention by Kenyan police, as Steve rightly pointed out, they're not really coming as peacekeepers. Even the UN's role in Haiti in terms of the cholera they brought and not even compensated yet, I don't think, and haven't accepted responsibility fully for the cholera. So people are suspicious of everybody, and rightly so. So sovereignty really is a big issue in all of this, and Haitians are trying to find the solutions that must be supported in that. Of course, it needs some real political solutions. I don't know who the political actors in Haiti are that maybe, Chidan, you can see is, here's some group, some organization that you think is one way forward in this. Is there anybody that you could? No.
Sorry, no, not really, to be honest. Like I'm thinking of a particular partner that we're often in conversation with, and I'm asking, how are you doing? How do things look on the ground? And a lot of the time, the conversation was geared to this coalition of different actors who formulated the Montana Accord, which in itself is not 100% perfect, but it was a kind of document of hope that people were leading towards. But no, I don't think there's a particular entity that looks, that we can give 100% of our vote of confidence to, because Haiti is facing a vacuum right now. I think it's the foreign minister who is currently negotiating with CARICOM and other actors who are taking the lead on Haiti's future, because there's no prime minister, right? There's no de facto prime minister who came into power after Jovenel Moise's assassination, and there are so many things that Haiti is having to deal with right now without the necessary legal, judicial entities to take the reins.
Yeah. Okay. I think thank you for that. Ola, can we let Ola in? Yeah, your hand raised.
Yeah. Thank you, CLS, for putting on this
Ola.
event. Thank you, Shodona, for giving us the benefit of your wisdom. I'm listening to this like a number of other events I've listened to recently, and what conjures up in my mind is to actually look at the matter another way. Is it that society in itself has fallen asleep at the wheel, or are we becoming even more and more docile as we listen to the rhetoric of politicians, corporate entities, giving us all this liberal spill, neoliberal spill as what we ought to be doing, and not understanding or distancing ourselves from situations because we're not actually involved you know, and I think that question is part rhetorical, but, you know, I would like to hear what you think, because, you know, the more civil society, in my opinion, sits on the fence and doesn't do anything and continues to look at these wars and these situations develop, but then talk about, oh, the country should do this and certain people should do that. And the entities such as United Nations, you know, which we've seen fail year in, year out for the last 50, 60 years, and yet we still resort to saying the same things, you know. So I just want to know, what is your opinion of civil society and what should we be doing? I know what CLS is doing, but what do you think civil society should be doing in order to activate itself into something that can step into the breach, instead of talking about defunct organizations like the OAU, you know, like ECOWAS, and, you know, like CARICOM in certain circumstances, because we all know, you know, Erfanali and what's her name, of Barbados, extremely loud when they want to be, but on this particular issue, they're almost silent, you know. So yeah, let me stop ranting on and let me hear what you say.
Thank you, Ola.
Thanks. Shodona, you want to come in? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Ola. So I'm going to go to Haitian civil society first, because this is affecting Haitians. They're doing the work, in my opinion. They're doing the work as best as they can. First of all, with this incentive of the Montana Accord, but also they're protesting as best as they can. But I think we need to, I mean, we're aware, right? But Haiti, Port-au-Prince, right? Because Haiti is not just Port-au-Prince, is under lockdown. A lot of these gangs are everywhere, right? And speaking to our civil society partners, they're not leaving home. They're just not. And there's a sense of I don't even think I have the word for it, but it's becoming a lot. It's a lot for people to grapple with. And what was the phrase I was going to say? The gangs are in the capital, not all over Haiti. Yes, exactly. That's what I was referring to, Ola. Like, Port-au-Prince is not the entire part of Haiti. A lot of these criminal activities are taking part in the capital. At the same time, the gangs have an influence throughout the country. Yeah, I think that's important to state as well. But the civil society actors who are based in the capital are linking up with individuals throughout the country and are setting up solidarity networks to the best of their ability, providing food, providing support in all senses to one another. And if we spread out to wider civil society throughout the world, Haitian diaspora, which is largest in the US, for example, are also trying to come in the dialogue with, and that has its tensions as well, because a lot of the time the people they're trying to influence is the US Senate, right? And those in the Black Caucus, I believe, are supporting. There is a small amount of support among Afro-Americans in the US Senate, but that's part of the US structure, right? And then you were saying about what CLS is doing in forms of what we can do, protesting and such. And there's a sense of Haiti fatigue. I think I read somewhere where, like you were saying, Ola, there are so many crises going around in the world that we just perhaps are becoming, I don't want to say jaded, but I don't know. Those are kinds of the comments that I have right now. But I think so long as we keep up our connections to Haitians on the ground and share their concerns, share what's important to them, which is what I've been trying to do in this presentation. Because I think a lot of the time what we're focused on how we can help, because we feel kind of powerless in a sense. People aren't asking about how Haitians are coping mentally. You know, the Haiti Support Group is often asked, as I'm sure you guys are, to comment on situations in the Caribbean concerning Haitians. And they just want us to connect them with people. But people aren't concerned enough, I don't think, about how Haitians are coping. You know, do they want to talk about the crises that's going on? Do they have that mental space to do that? And I think we, as best as we can try and support them in all forms, like whether that is through our protests, whether that's writing things, whether that's taking to the streets here. Is it worth, you know, I think we know the answer already, but regarding the political structures that we have in place, how far can we go with those, given the positionalities that they have in the region? I think we just need to show our support as best as we can, particularly in the mental sense for Haitians.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sharon. I think that's very a great comment in some ways into how we can keep holding out hope for Haiti, really. And I think for those of us who are abroad, we do what we can. The Haitians know that they're not alone. We're thinking about them. But at the bottom line really is, you know, of Haiti is a sovereign nation. I think, you know, the Haitian people will come up with the solutions to this problem. Sometimes things doesn't move as fast as we would like them to, but they're surely on the currents and people are thinking and organizing about it, as you rightly said. We thought the Montana Accord was a good starting point to try and galvanize some people together. And, you know, we will continue to support that, I think, as the most hopeful sign coming out. But at the end of the day, Haitian people must sort this out, you know, and I think that's what they're trying to do. And that's what people are holding out. The police or another force going in, we know will create even more violence and more problems. We know we can't rely on the imperialists who have been involved for all these number of years to really bring real solutions to the problems in Haiti. And so I think, you know, supporting sovereignty and supporting the Haitian people to come to solutions. And we will take the lead from you whenever, you know, wherever, and we do what we can here. And certainly we will protest those that are trying to undermine Haiti's sovereignty. So thank you for that. I see we will share the screen. Thank you, Paul. Are you sharing something with us? You want to speak to it? Paul, is that your screen share? Paul Ward, yes. Paul. Okay.
Well, you're on mute if you were trying to explain something. We can't hear you at the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, yes. but I'm trying to read the thing. The print is a bit small, but we can read it. But it's best you speak to it if you can.
Is that me? No, yeah. So we're just seeing that that Jamaica is taking the
Training.
lead, yeah, the training of
But
the
that was some March, you know, a week is long in politics in
yeah.
Haiti, you know. So we don't know what's changed since then.
So I wanted to go back to something that
Yes, please go.
earlier about Jamaica and Haiti and this, you know, because evidently people are fleeing the situation. With Jamaica being very close by, obviously the DR has closed its borders, and the main airport is shut, so nothing is able to go in and out. And if it is able to leave, in terms of people especially, very precarious situations. And yeah, Jamaica is sending back nations who are seeking asylum, and we are in conversation with an organization called Freedom Imaginaries, run by a human rights lawyer, Marlene Allen. And I know that she is trying to formulate a Caribbean group where we are putting pressure on the Jamaican government to adhere to international refugee law, because what the actions that are being taken on are not aligning to international refugee law. And as we know, Haiti is a CARICOM member. So, you know, so ideally Jamaica would be taking in refugees, but it's not. And, you know, instead it's training the police force in Haiti.
Okay, thanks. Two participants, two people raised hands. I don't see those hands. So if somebody can help me with that.
There's
we can take some
Stephen
questions.
Ward, Stephen Howard and Paul Ward. Sorry, I conflated the pair of you. My profuse apologies.
Interesting one.
Stephen Howard and then Paul Ward.
Before I say anything, go ahead, Paul. I'll speak after this.
All I was going to say was in kind of response to what Shodona said, that it makes a nonsense in Jamaica, because Alain was actually excluded from trying to represent the second boatload of Haitians to apply for asylum. I think he managed it in the first case is still going on after what? Second boatload were not even given a chance, and she was excluded from them. So how we can be possibly training a useful intervention force here just beats me. Can't, just to do with the money, as we said.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul. I agree with you entirely. I think, you know, people were not really showing a commitment to Haitians and to Haiti in any kind of progressive fashion, you know, should be excluded from even being at the table at any discussion about what happens in Haiti. We'll take two more questions, I think, and then we'll wrap up the meeting. I think some of this we'll discuss at our executive meeting, which I'll remind EC members is in 2 weeks' time, Tuesday. Not Tuesday, but the following one. Two participants. Okay, so that was you, Paul, and then we'll hear from Stephen. Stephen,
Okay.
can you come in?
Thanks again for recognizing me, Mr. Chair. First off, change really can't, in my opinion, happen constructively as opposed to destructively unless it is made from within. What I would like to suggest is, by doing so, reaching out to the different gang members, regardless of how you feel about them, regardless of if you think they bombs or whatever, have a meeting, maybe through Zoom or whatever, all with these different gang members, because after a while, Haiti is going to run out of food production. And look at what's going to happen when the farmers would no longer be willing to farm the lands because they're being robbed and everything else. When people get sick, the hospitals are closed. When people get sick, where are they going to go? We need to start thinking about these things and not just like, okay, how can we end this violence that's going on? We need to think about the overall impact that it's having on the lives of the Haitian people. How are they eating? How are, women are still having children. Women still need medical attention. The elderly still need medical attention. Children need medical attention. What is being done to make sure that these infrastructure are being put back in place and maintained? When they start running out of food, how are we going to supply them? Is this going to be another thing that like what's going on in Gaza? We need to start thinking of this more on a realistic impact on what the Haitians themselves are experiencing, rather than just thinking about, okay, we need to have this meeting, these people need to get together, we need to send the military forces, all this kind of stuff. We need to deal with the bread and butter issues that the Haitians are facing. And unless we start dealing with that in a realistic perspective, this thing is just going to get worse and worse, just like that, what's going on in Gaza with starvation and everything else. And then it's going to be a real humanitarian crisis. And what about France? Look at the billions of dollars they extracted from Haiti, with saying that Haiti needs to give reparations for them because of the money that they lost due to the abolition of slavery. You see, there's so many different things that we need to discuss. But as long as we, have this kind of outsider trying to come into Haiti to try, no. We need to find out exactly, we need to get these warring factions together to at least come to some kind of truce so that people are starving, people are dying. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, I think we are organizing in some ways to try and empower people. And yes, those immediate needs, I'm sure Haitians are doing something about, but I'll ask Shodona maybe to come in to respond to that, and then we'll take one final question from Joseph. Shodona, you want to respond then in any way?
I think what Joseph was saying, some interesting points. Yeah. With this transitional council, maybe that will talk to these gangs, maybe it will give it the space. I don't know if Haitians themselves want to talk to the gang members. I can't really speak to that, but I agree that you need different voices at a decision-making table, whatever that table looks like, so that people have access to their basic services, like access to food, water, because these infrastructures, as we know, have been weak in Haiti for a very long time because of the lack of governance. Yeah, I don't know. I think that could be interesting, but I think this is a thing of when you have these internal conflicts and you're in a transition period, this is the most difficult time, because you have these gang members that want, right, let's say that they get invited to this transitional council and they want amnesty, right? So they're not, and let's say that's agreed. And, how do you continue to live in a space where your family members have been, they're no longer here with you because of a gang member that's next door and that potentially has a political position in government? Yeah, I mean, that's a different conversation, but as we have seen with transitional justice processes, it's not easy. And when you have time to look through the Montana Code, I've not read it in thorough detail, but there is a proposition of this council establishing a truth and justice commission, which is something that Aristide had tried to do in his administration to, redress the damages done during the dictatorships, right? And that didn't get off the ground, unfortunately. So perhaps that is the space that this conversation could take place. But I agree that Haitians they're surviving on a thread, at the moment, and it's the physical, it's the mental, it's the spiritual needs that really need to be provided for Haitians. So perhaps this Truth Commission could be the entity where these discussions could happen and negotiations can take place as to how to get the country moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Shodona. Joseph, would you like to comment? Your question?
Yeah. First of all, the speaker made a mistake. Wasn't Joseph that made the previous comment?
Yeah, that was Stephen. Yes, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
just
it was
for the
Stephen
record.
who was speaking before.
Yeah, just for the
Thanks.
record. Yeah, but I'm asking a question, and then I want to just make a short comment. First of all, we GAC, the Global African Congress, they put on 2 successful webinar on Haiti back to back, and at the end it was felt that, it's one thing hearing people talk about Haiti, people from the outside, but the need to have people from inside, and I found it very difficult, even though I have contact with Haiti, with someone in Haiti. The security situation seems to be untenable there, so people are scared. So if there anybody that knows anyone that can speak brave enough on the situation on the ground, then that would be helpful. GAC is trying to organize a third session on next Saturday. Anyway, let me say in terms of comment, unless we understand the dynamics, not just in Haiti, but what is happening in the Caribbean and maybe globally, Haiti is not expected to survive, to overcome the situation. The behavior of Caribbean governments does not leave anything to be encouraged. They play up to the imperialists. They are now going to be trained by Canada. The people of Caribbean, there's no sense of solidarity, although there's a little hope now, because as people hear from some of the people on the news that speak like one of the gang members, they have a little better understanding of what is happening. What is needed, and I think CSL could help that, is to really expose CARICOM for its hypocrisy. CARICOM government still allow the bureaucracy, the immigration, to expel Haitians. Oh, look, Haitians, Haiti is a member of CARICOM. We cannot continue to endorse those hypocrisy while allowing ourselves to be ruled and run by the imperialists. I know I cannot say too much, but it's really complicated, and we have to really accept. And all the things that have been said has some merit here, but we have to really see what is strategic for us now in ensuring that we at least sort of, the word is not coming to curtail what is happening in the best possible way, not relying on the imperialists. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, I think we've covered some of those issues in terms of being critical of CARICOM, and we will continue to do so and try to hold accountable some of those governments. Sometimes the populations are giving more support than the government, so we need to remember that too. So we will continue to think about ways in which we can get them to be accountable for their actions in the Caribbean. I'll give you the final word, Shodona, and we'll close the meeting. So please, is there anything you wanted to say, imparting, anything you would like us to do?
I just want to say thank you again for this invitation. It's always emotional talking about Haiti, but we know that that conversations and practical actions need to take place. My tenure as chair of the Haiti Support Group is coming to an end over the next couple of months, but you know, we're going to ensure that we are, as always, connected with CLS and hopefully take more strategic, tangible steps forward. I think in response to, I think now, Joseph, if hopefully I'm getting the right person here, but where you were talking about the Global African Congress, I can think of somebody who could potentially help you with that. So if I could get your contact details, that would be great. But yes, it is for Haitians who are in progressive organizations, who are in the fight, who are at the forefront. It can be a challenge to speak outright about the situation. And you will notice if you do participate in these kind of online webinars where people are talking to the crises, the same people are called upon, who are usually academics or journalists, and not always your grassroots people. So it is tricky, but we can get people to speak to the situation as well. I think that would be a good next step, to hear from a Haitian on the ground. I think the last time we were able to get a couple of our partners to support me with these presentations. So that could be a next step, but please continue doing what you're doing and being in the fight with Haitians. Thank you.
Okay, I thank you very much, Shodona. I think on that note, we can ask people to applaud and thank you for appearing to speak. I should applaud on behalf of everybody. I'm not seeing hands clapping, but thank you so much. And again, we look forward to maybe having a further conversation with you on Tuesday coming up. Now, for people who are new to CLS, I always try to remind people that CLS is not a funded organization. We don't have any paid offices. We depend on membership and your participation. Our strength is the support you can give to us by attending these meetings and by taking out a membership. We encourage you to look at our website and see the things that we get up to, the things that we do, and how you can actually join on the website. And on that note, I'd say we will meet again at the next first Sunday in the month, same time, for the next meeting, which we will decide on at our executive meeting. But thank you again, Shodona, and thanks for all the comments and questions for this meeting on Haiti. So thank you all. Okay, bye now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Okay, take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks. All right, Shodona, thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
And,
thanks. Much
right.
appreciated.
Oh, Frank, you're here. Thank you. And there was somebody else, Alexander the Great. I nearly asked you for a song, but we're putting you on the spot. You might not have your guitar with you. But thank you for all your support for Haiti. And David and all the regulars. Lucia, thank you. And
thank you, Steve. Thank you. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Steve.
yeah,
Most informative meeting. Thank you for all that you do.
Right. Thanks a lot. All right. We meet on Tuesday. Executive members. Yep.
Tuesday week.
Tuesday week.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to close the meeting now.
Hello, can you give her my information, please? Chia, that